Hello everyone, my name is AYUSH MISHRA. Welcome to my channel. Today we will do Indian Express newspaper of 31st of May. Alright. Now in the Manipur crisis, the tribal leaders are seeking for president rule. Alright. And if we move forward, we will see now buy airport metro lines ticket on WhatsApp. They are making a pilot project basis that you can also book your tickets of metro airport line from the WhatsApp itself. Alright. And it is stretch over a 22.7 kilometer long area from Dwarka sector 21 to Dwarka sector 21 to New Delhi, right? And the tickets can be done between 5:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Now, a kin of violence victim to get 10 lakh rupees compensation the government is given, all right. And on Manipur challenges, what CDS has said that the situation now is Manipur is completely insurgent related. It is that is the situation in Manipur is not insurgent basis. That is, it is between the ethnic groups. So it is purely law enforcement or law and order situation, and the armed forces are helping the state government with it. Armed forces and Assam Rifles have done the excellent job, but it's now time for the police and the CAPFs to take control of the situation. Now, the President Draupadi Murmu and Narendra Modi welcomes Cambodia's King Preach Prat. Samdesh Preach Bhumenath Norodom ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan on Tuesday. All right, and Parliament will building will be ready for the monsoon session. So sessions of the Parliament and the Parliaments is also important. Based on that, the NCRT is dropping the Khalistani reference from class 12 political science. All right, notebook, and the Khankar Reservoir, the compensation has been asked of around 53,000 for emptying, right, that reservoir on Chhattisgarh. Now, legal battle between the Divas and Anthric deal launched by Mauritius offshore. That means uh, there is a long been drawn battle between the foreign investment in the Bengaluru space startup firm Devas Multimedia Private Limited and Indian authority over the invention of a 2005 satellite deal with Indian Space Research Organization, Arms Entric Corp. All right, three Mauritius-based investors in Devas: CC Devas Mauritius Limited, Telecom Devas Mauritius Limited, and Devas Employed Mauritius Private Limited, along with Devas Municipal American in U.S. arms of Devas. Sorry. Now, India is hosting 22nd SEO summit as a chairperson. Right, PM Modi will be the chairperson of it, and both all the countries like China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan. India has invited Iran, Belarus, and Mongolia as observer state. Turkmenistan has also been invited as a guest of the chair, and the secretariat and the SCO rats will be present, and the regional organization like UN, ASEAN, CIS, CSTO, EAEU, and CICA have also been invited towards. And What is the some theme? The towards a secure SEO is the theme where secure words was added by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and the summit will stand for the security, economical, trade, connectivity, unity, respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity and environment, and the cooperation within the bloc, such as startups and innovations, traditional medicine, digital inclusion, youth empowerment, and shared Buddhist heritage. The These are the statements which were being given, and metro will allow the transport organs for transportation in the metro. All right, government will allow metro to transport organs for transportation, and it is the Union Housing and Urban Affair Ministry's order. Earlier, the blood, corpse, bones, human body parts, human skeleton, and animal cases are considered offensive material, and they were not allowed in the metro train. But now, amendment rules have been made exception for the human organs and tissues, and this is meant for the transplantation. Human Organs and Tissue Act 1994, 42 of 1994 may take along human organs or tissue or both for the purpose of organ, tissue, and transplantation. All right. Now, building a peaceful world. This is Switzerland's uh, diplomat who has written the Switzerland's foreign policy DNA: peace promotion and protection of civilian in zones of armed conflict. Right, countries was ravaged by several civil wars between Catholics and the Protestants for the period up to 300 years ago, around 1500. And in the course of 3 years here, the India is learned that these priorities are also the same for the integrated in ahimsa, that is the Buddhist and the Indian religion and ethnic principles of causing harm other people. All right, land of Gautam Buddha and Mahavira. In 1884, if I zoom it out, you will be able to see it, right? And in 1848, Switzerland was able to imagine a peaceful country by crafting new and inclusive constitution in 1920. The League of Nations was founded in Geneva as an answer of First World War, and in 1945 the global community was able to imagine a peaceful world with the foundation of United Nations. Now, the evidence convergence when it becomes the Swiss and Indian foreign policy priorities, both which aim to peace promotion. My country firm stand behind Prime Minister Narendra Modi's statement that it is not an era of war. In addition to that, peace and harmony are also integral to India's G20 President vision of Vasudev Vaikuntapam, which means the world is one big family. And at this historic moment, the Switzerland and India together can contribute greatly to the world peace. Switzerland are permanent members of Security Council in New York and India by presiding over the G20 summit. All right, and this is chaos in India and caution, chaos in Pakistan and caution in India. Again, Uh, the protest of nuclear-powered neighbor Emporium should be occasional on triumph. Alright, the youth wing of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf (PTI) protests against the arrest of former Prime Minister Imran Khan has attacked the general headquarters of Pakistan Army in Rawalpindi, a field operation of the ISI in Faizabad. Alright, and Taliban Pakistan (TTP) has re-energized by the return of Afghan Taliban to the power in Afghanistan, and the transactional jihadi organization. It is a transactional jihadi organization, and the leaders have publicly signaled that the uh, instantment is obligated weapon of mass destruction, considered it's their regional obligation to do so. Pakistan has a robust and dedicated nuclear command and control system comprising in situations such as Nuclear Command Authority, Strategic Plan Division, and Strategic Force Command of the three services that makes it impossible for the country's nuclear weapon fall into unauthorized hands. All right, and the operation and planning, command control, operation, communication, computers, intelligence, information, and surveillance C4I2SR, the strategic weapon development, the arm control, disarmament, and the weapons of religion for achievement, weaponization of religion for achievement of political and strategic goals, the increasement amendment of army and civilian affairs, and the obsession with Kashmir and the posture of perpetuum enmity between India have now come to haunt Pakistan, and ascendance of obscurity forces may only make Pakistan more irrigation, more turbulent, and more unpredictable for India. Therefore, uh, height caution rather than form of triumphs may be more advisory policy to make the circumstances. Right, there is one more article is this, telling about the towards equality in science. Right, so let's move for it. Towards equality in science, the world where everyone had an equal opportunity to pursue a career in science, where uh, next Einstein could be anyone from any background and country, any generation, and not just only the privileged one. All right, let's understand what she is trying to say. Now, The equality aims to provide identical treatment and opportunity to everyone. Equality, on the other hand, focuses on ensuring that everyone has the resources and support that they need to succeed regardless of their starting point of circumstances. Equality is about opportunity and access. Equality is about outcome. Equality is critical for diversity of ideas in any society. Now, the innovation has never been more evident. Science was seen to have the power to change the world from healthcare and technology to policy and environment. Access to information, vaccine, drugs, infrastructure saw a critic saw a critical need and push for the equality in science. Science should ideally ensure that the scientific research and development benefits every person in the world, regardless of their social, economic, and geographical backgrounds. This creates a unique challenge for country like India, due to prevalent socio-economic inequality, gender inequality, educational system disparities, lack of research funding, and under representation of certain groups. All right. Socioeconomic status often determines access to quality education and creates barriers to entering and advancing in science related careers. Now, it is important to examine how factors like language barriers or institutional affectionate impact scientific ability to publish. Gender inequality is shaped by not only social norms and cultural practices, but also by economic and political and power structure that perpetuate it. Now, caste-based discrimination, the legacy of colonialism that promote gender-sensitive education and employment policy challenges patriarchal norms and practices. The address a systematic inequality based on caste, class, religion, and critique to inequality outcomes. Now, science is undoubtedly among the greatest accomplishment of humanity, but unfortunately, its history is marked by legacy of inequality. Science has complex history of exclusion and discrimination, exempling this history and its impact on contemporary equality issue. Now, equality in science is not just that of fairness, it's about the unleashing untapped potential. Now, let us embrace diversity, break down barriers from Brave New World, and pave the way for a substantial future. Now, let's move forward, right? Now, we have this. The Vangore by another name, why artwork are renamed, right? This artwork has been renamed. Earlier, it was named as red cabbage and onion. Now it is known as red cabbage and garlic, right? It is 135 years old Vincent Van Gogh painting, right? And it was changed by Chief Ernest de Vinte, and he's saying that the picture depicting is not depicting the onion but the garlic, so they have changed it out, right? Now, curbing air emission. Now, here France has banned short-haul flights. Amsterdam airport has banned the private jet. They are tackling the climate changes. Now they are talking about limiting the air traffic control for the emission of greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide. All right, and it will help in controlling the greenhouse gases and the emission, and it will make the environment more clean. And the French ban, uh, France became the first country in the world to impose ban on short haul domestic flight. While the air transport was about 2% of global carbon dioxide emission every year, and less than 2% of the greenhouse emission. All right. And the France, Netherlands, Australia, Ireland last week have almost all the countries of European Union have almost all the countries of European Union have strengthened the situation, discourage of travel of private jets. And the private jets usually far more inefficient than large commercial airlines and have always been a big eye stone for the climate perspective. Transportation and environment. It is a group in the Europe, and it has estimated that the private jet were 5 to 14 times more polluting than the passenger, than commercial planes, and 50 more times more polluting than train. It said the private planets planes should be emitting about 2 tons of carbon dioxide every hour, which an average person in Europe emitted by 8.2 crores of carbon dioxide equivalent in the entire area or an entire year. Private jet in Europe had increased by 64% in 2022 and emitted more than 5.3 million tons of carbon dioxide. And emission for aviation, uh, here it's still considered a big worry, mainly due to the two reasons: that it generates very low fraction of global population, and it is projected to grow at very fast pace. Now, aeroplanes produce non-CO2 emission as well, and this impact the global warming is equally significant. According to the UN climate change, if the non-CO2 emission like water vapor are also accounted for, the airline industry would be responsible for causing almost 5% of historical global warming, right? And we have the International Civil Aviation Organization ICAO, and it said that any increase in emission of 2022 level of compensation by the airline industries through investment in carbon saving project elsewhere, called the carbon offsetting and reducing scheme for international aviation of COCSIA, and the offset plan is supposed to run from 2021 to 2035. The Sorcia, that is the scheme that any of the carbon emission or the industry made more than the 2022's level carbon emission, it would be banned completely. Now, seeking to offshore emission has over and over in 2020 level, it does not deal with the total emission, right? It is not dealing with the total emission, but it is controlling the emission. And aviation does not have viable technology alternative for the shifting and cleaning fuels. Biofuels have been tried, and so far the hydrogen fuel cell, the solar power planes have also made trips, but use of these alternative fuels for flying large commercial airlines is still some distance away, right? President and government contracts SC on Article 299. Now, in this article, we have to just understand that what is important. The seventh schedule is important. The Article 299 is important, and why it is important. What is the purpose of it? How Parliament and the any outsourced company, along with the Supreme Court, can play a role of it. Now we will understand the meaning of it. The Article 22, Article 299 provides the all contract made in the exercise of executive power of the union of the state shall be expressed to be made by president or by the governor of the state, right? However, Article 299 2 says that while the government can enter into contract in the name of president or the governor, all right, Article 299 1 means that there must be written deed or contract that should be executed by person authority by the president or the governor, right? And certain cases examples have been given, which you can understand and notice if you want to, though it is of no use, right? These things are of no use. And then the verdicts have been given on that case. It has called off, not called off, but it has made understand the seventh schedule included that the seventh schedule includes the relationship between the arbitrator in the employee consultative advisory or having any other past or prevent business relationship with any party, right? And later on, uh, it, the main problem is the conflict of section 12(5) of 1996 act, all right. Now the 299 only lays down the formality that it is necessary for bind the it is that it necessary to bind the government with contractual liability and not to substantial law related to any contractual liability and government, which is found to be generally law of land. A contract may be valid under 299, and it may nevertheless fail to bind the government if it is void or enforceable under the law, all right. And the installation of Foucault's pendulum in the new Parliament building. Now let us understand about it, what it is all about. All right, it is made by the Science Council of National Council of Science Museum, Kolkata. All right, it is of 22-meter height, and it is weighting of staggering 36 kgs. It is circular installation, and which in the ground on the ground and allows perpendicular movement, and it takes 49 hours and 59 minutes and 18 seconds for the perpendicular to complete one rotation. That means one rotation usually takes around 49 hours 59 minutes and 18 seconds, right? What is focus pendulum? The name focus pendulum, it's named after 19th century French scientist Leon Foucault, and it is was experiment to demonstrate the rotation of the earth, right? In 1851 it was the first direct visual evidence of the earth that earth rotates on its axis. The heavy body object hung for a height with a steering free the swing in any direction once set into and for motion. The perpendicular is seen to charge its orientation for movement over time. It is not the perpendulum that changes its planes or motion, but it is the ground beneath it. Observer stands on the ground, do not notice the earth rotation because they are rotating with it, but can notice change in the orientation of the perpendicular at the north and south poles, where the perpendiculars align with the axis of rotation of earth. The perpendiculum back and forth motion comes its original plane and is exactly 24 hours. This is if it starts swinging in the northwest direction, slowly turns into the northeast direction or northeast south direction, and then the east west direction. It keeps on changing its orientation till the back of its original orientation after 24 hours, and the perpendulum is perpendicular to the axis of rotation, hence it is never changes its orientation to the swing. A Foucault's pendulum at equator should not show any deviation from its original course. To maintain its perpendicular motion, the Foucault's pendulum in the museum are equipped with motor and impact a fixed amount of energy. All right. The piece is made by the gunmetal, which has been fixed with an electromagnetic coil to ensure hassle-free movement. And the SCM had firstly created this such pendulum in 1991, which was installed in the Inter-University Center for the Autonomy and Astrophysics (IUCAA) in Pune. And Article 51A of the Constitution asks every citizen to develop scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inequality and reform. And Foucault's pendulum was reflection of such that thing, right? Foucault's pendulum was reflection of such that thing. Now, let's move forward. We have North Korea has launched its first military spy satellite in June 2020, and the statement came after the North Korea notified Japan Coast Guards that the launch might affect the Yellow Sea, East China Sea, and east of the Philippines, Lazur Island. Right, and Japanese said that it will shoot down. It will come if it comes under our territory. Now, China has launched its first spaceship. All right, first it has launched its first. So here it was, and the China launches the new scientific with its first civilian on board, and the first astronauts launches the Shenzhou 16 manned mission. It is a Jitquan satellite launch center in northwest China, and China's manned space agency CMSA and Sasol 16 separate from the rocket and entered its destination orbit. Right, Sezom 15 astronaut, the China's newly completed Tiangong space station. China will be the only country to own a space station, as the International Space Station of Russia is collaborating project of several countries. The ISS is also said to be decommissioned by 2030. Right? And then NATO is sending more troops to Kosovo, and Kosovo is Zivekan. All right, area is Zivekan of Kosovo, and northern Kosovo is helped to a quell of protests under the clashes. Now, Kosovo is former province of Siberia, whose 2008 declaration of independence Belgrade does not recognize. Ethnic Albanian made most of the population, but Kosovo has a recent Serb minority in the northern border of Siberia. An ethnic Albanian official elected in the votes boycotted by Serb entered a municipal building, when the Serbs tried to block them. Moscow police tried to do the tear gassing of those people, right? The Nepal PM, right? The Nepal PM Dahal reaches Delhi on 4-day visit, and the two sides will hold the Biden discussion on multi-sectoral cooperation, uh, mainly in the power trade, road connectivity, and new energy project. Meeting will be done at the Hyderabad House, and it will impact the bilateral relation and cooperation of the both countries, Nepal and India. And the two sides are likely to sign agreement for the development of two hydropower projects, Lower Arun and Fukot in western Nepal, Karnali, by Indian public sector companies. All right. Former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli said Dahar must Dahar must protest against that is Dahar. The Prime Minister must protest against the inclusion of Lumbini, Buddha's birthplace, and Kapila Vastu in Akhand Bharat mural at the newly built Indian Parliament. All right. So let's move forward. Here, the alternative to UPI, let me just zoom it out, right? The alternative to UPI, NEFT, RGTS, what is RBI's lightweight payment system? Right? The lightweight payment system and settlement system equivalent of digital payment operating from anywhere by barring minimum staff in exigencies such as natural calamities or war. The infrastructure for this system will be independent of technology underlying current payment system like UPI, NEFT, and RTGS. Now, what is lightweight payment system? It is has the conceptualization of lightweight portal payment system that can be operated from anywhere at minimum number of staff, particularly in challenging times like natural calamities or war. Lightweight system is expected to be operate on minimalistic hardware and software and would be made active only on a needed basis. And such a lightweight and portable payment system ensured near zero downtime of payment, and keep the liquidity pipeline of the economy alive and intact by the facilities uninterrupted function of essential payment service like bulk payment system, interbank payment, and provision of cash to participant institution. The system could process transaction that can critical to ensure stability of the economy, inclusion the government and the market related transaction, and a real estate system that likely to be act as a bunker equivalent in the payment system, and thereby enhancing the public coincidence with digital payment and financial market infrastructure even during the extreme condition, right? And what is the difference? So if we compare the both lightweight payment system and the UPI, the RGTS, NFT, UPI are the designed for handle large voluminous of transaction while ensuring sustainable availability, as they are dependent on the complex wire networks backed by the advanced IT infrastructure. All right, but however, the catastrophe events like natural calamities and war have potential to render these payment system, while the lightweight payment system will still work at that time. Understood? So this is what all about. And India's growth momentum to sustain in financial year of 2024 amid the easing of inflation in RBI. Now, the Indian growth momentum is likely to sustain in 2023 to 24 amid the easing of inflation pressure, and the real GDP is of the projected to be 6.5 percentage, with a risk even balancing the economy in expected to expand by 7% in 2023, and India is likely to be its growing momentum is likely to be sustained in 2020 in 2023-24 in an atmosphere of easing inflation pressure, right? We have the cashless coin dispenser on the way. That is cashless coin dispenser on the way. The Reserve Bank of India has launched a pilot project on QR code basis vendor machine, the QCVM, in the collaboration with five banks like Axis Bank, Bank of Baroda, ICIC Bank, State Bank of India, and Federal Bank. The QCVM allows the payment transaction through UPI on scanning a dynamic QR code generated by machine on the mobile phone of the customer, and it will eliminate the need for the physical notes and authentication, right? The e rupee worth 5.70 crore in circulation. Now the central bank of digital currency CBDS or the e rupee, right? It has told that there are around 0.50 lakh of 500 digital rupee pieces in circulation worth 2.71 crores. There are 0.60 lakh of 200 digital notes valued 1.16 crore and 0.80 lakh rupees 1000 digital notes worth 83 lakhs in circulation, and the 500 digital rupee account for 47.5% of total rupee in circulation. The RBI has also launched the digital version of 50 paise, that is rupees 0.50, rupee 1, rupee 2, rupee 5, rupee 10, rupee 20, rupee 50 enclosure user group, and it has even launched 2.7 lakh pieces of 50 paisa digital rupee valued of 1 lakh. Now, the maximum fraud in digital payment is, that means whatever frauds are going on, it is solely due to maximum the digital payment. All right, the highest number of fraud cases were in loan portfolios of bank, and the total amount of frauds in digital payment category stood to rupees 276 crores in financial year of 2023, right? And provide roadmap for the vendor base, the government to Tesla. That means Tesla is going to have its Tesla is going to be manufacturing its cars and everything in India itself, and and government has asked Tesla to submit a roadmap and time frame needed for the company to set up the indigenous supply chain, and the company will look up to the assembly. The everything will be done indigenously. That is domestic assemblies of the unit for the EV, and it will connect the most components and components of the India. All right, the components of the EV should be made in India. The scheme should be work under the smart, because the scheme is already working under the smartphone link with incentive schemes, uh, product linked incentive schemes under the phase manufacturing program, that is PMP. This is the scheme on which many things are working on, and on the period of time Tesla will locally manufacture the components for which it has used in the vendors to set shop in India. Since the most Tesla's vendors are Chinese, they are made forms joint venture with Indian firms to operate in India. Now, the government is willing to give time for settling up the domestic vendors, but Tesla will have to indicate the period of time. The government has done same for the Apple under the smartphone PLI scheme. Apple as well as Samsung have duly protected on component required for the domestic assembly of phones. Several of Apple's Chinese vendors have agreed to set up the joint venture with Indian firms to set up their supply chain in the country, and the government may come out with a modified PLI scheme for the electric vehicles and advanced chemistry cell battery to invite fresh investment by companies which did not participate earlier. All right. Now, future refineries in India may be small capacity, sent by the Hardeep Singh Puri, who is the oil minister. All right. Now, building smaller oil refineries because of the problem of acquiring land at its aim to raise its annual refinery capabilities to 9 million barrel per day. That means they are raising the capacity to 9 million barrel per day. Oil refineries capacity in India, the world's third biggest oil importers and consumer, is at about 5.2 million barrel per day. The global oil producers see India as a stable outlet for their oil, as it is expected to account for the quarter of oil global oil demand growth by 2040, and refineries are very high cost. India need to draws a roadmap for expanding its refinery capacity to 9 million barrel per day. All right, India is expecting 9 million barrel per day, as it is the India is the world's third largest economy, and the problem with land purchases are on the key reason for sluggish infrastructure development in Asia's third largest economy. Right. So there is nothing on the sports side, right? It is not required as per the UPSC perspective, and we have completed our newspaper. So thank you everyone for listening, and Jai Hind. All right, I must continue. I will continue reading the newspaper of the complete area of the recent also, and the newspaper which we have left earlier as well. And I'll continue my journey of reading the NCRTs and sharing it on the YouTube along with the Indian polity and other subjects as well. So keep supporting me. Thank you. Do subscribe, please. And please at least watch the full video, like it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.